Here's Runners!
Hey guys, welcome along to another little chat about the classic He-Man and the Masters of the Universe from way back in 1983. Absolutely love this show. As much now as it did as a child. This episode was the Sleepers Awaken, and at the beginning of it, Prince Adam, Teela, they're out to capture some horses, some wild horses. Adam doesn't know, but these are winged horses, and while they're on their route to find these horses, they come across this creepy old abandoned castle, and Teela tells the story about the legend of this castle. There was a Lady Volterra and a Lord Terran that were they were evil 200 years ago, and they used their magic to build their little empire, and they used the power of the forest and the trees, and all the trees were destroyed when they were taking the power from them, the power of their magic, and they eventually destroyed the entire forest. And once the forest was gone, their powers started to disappear as well, so they decided to go to sleep for 200 years so that the forest could grow back, and once the forest was back, they would wake up and continue their little rise to power. And you see this all in flashback of the two of them going into their coffins, and there's a little creature that Lady Volterra has called Zago. It's like a little baby dragon, let's just say, and they go into the coffins. That goes onto this little perch, and she goes to sleep. Lord Terran is going to wake up first to make sure everything's okay before she wakes up, and they go to sleep. The little Zago is on like a little perch watching over the two coffins. He goes to sleep as well. So back in present day, Prince Adam, he says, hopefully they don't wake up tonight, and of course that's the scud on the whole episode. It turns out that one of them is already awake. Lord Terran, I need to keep looking at their names on my notes here. Lord Terran is already awake, and he is in the flashback. You see him, and in present day, now that he's awake, he looks completely different. He's completely he's almost like a demonized version of himself. I think it's just his face looks completely different. He's no longer flesh coloured, he's like a bluish colour, and he's deformed, and we find out later in the episode what happens. But with Prince Adam and Teela going after these horses, and turns out that Lady Volterra loved these horses, and she had never actually get close enough to actually ride one. And when she hears it, that brings her back from the sleep that she's in, her and Zago, and they leave this little castle that they have, and they go out to see what's happening. And Prince Adam, of course, he's like the Clark Kent Superman sort of thing. When he's not He-Man, he's fairly clumsy, and he's riding one of these horses, and he falls off and pretty much lands at her feet, and she takes control of him to be her slave, sort of a deal, not knowing that Lord Terran has seen this happening, and he goes on a jealous rampage in the episode whenever he sees his beloved Volterra and Prince Adam together, and he attacks using his magic. There's a nice little sequence earlier in the episode, and if you look away briefly, you're going to miss it, but it's a key point in the episode. It's when Lady Volterra first comes out, and she actually absorbs the magic from one of the trees. She puts her hand on it, and the tree actually turns to ash, more or less. Zago, the little baby dragon, is sitting on the ground behind her, and there's this quick little shot of a tear dropping from its eye. So it's a little foreshadowing of what's coming in the episode. This little creature isn't evil, and you know, it's just her destroying this tree is breaking its heart. So, you know, it's completely, you know, it's her pet, it loves her, but its little heart is breaking for her. And it's just very quick, very swift, and it tells a lot about what's going to happen later in the episode. Anyway, the attack comes from Lord Terran. He's using this like spider creature to fire webs. It grabs hold of Sago and pulls him up and towards the trees. At this point, Terran is nothing more than like a dark, shadowy figure. They can't see who it is. But Volterra comments that, why does that voice sound so familiar? And of course, Prince Adam, he's under her spell at the moment. He can't move, he's frozen. And she tells him, look, you know, you're going to be my slave, but until you will make the choice yourself to be my slave, you're going to remain frozen. So whenever this attack from Terran comes, Prince Adam asks her, you know, only a free man can help you now. And she actually drops the magic spell off him. And he runs away, and she thinks, okay, traitor, he's only worried about himself. But Adam, of course, is running to find somewhere where no one can see him, so he can transform into He-Man. And he comes back, and a little fight commences between him and Terran. And he eventually rescues Sago, and in doing that, Lady Volterra gets captured by Terran and this spider creature, and he manages to save her as well, and the two of them escape back to the castle. And He-Man asks her, you know, how come you haven't tried to put me under your evil spell the way that you did with Prince Adam? And she's like, Sago trusts you, therefore I trust you. I'm starting to realise that I would rather have friends than slaves. So they go into the castle, and the whole inside of the castle is completely different than what she remembers it. Like, wildlife and the trees and everything has started to claim the castle, and the throne room is there, but she can't see her seat of power, and she demonstrates her power to He-Man by absorbing the energy of the plants' lives and the trees that's in the throne room. And the two thrones is cleared. She takes her place in her seat, and it turns out there's this giant snake creature has moved into the castle over the centuries, and it actually comes out and attacks her, and He-Man has to save her once again from this giant snake creature, which he eventually captures using there's like a big banner hanging from the roof, and he uses the sort of power to chuck up towards the roof and cut the ropes, and this thing falls down, and he kind of ties it up into like a bag, the four corners tied it together. So this creature, no longer a threat, is left in the corner. So of course Lord Terran comes in and demonstrates his dislike for everything that's happening, and the whole jealous rage that he's going through. During this, Teela has actually managed to get into the castle as well to try and find Prince Adam. Of course, Teela, as we've seen now in recent days, she doesn't know that Prince Adam is in fact He-Man, so that plays highly into this episode as well. She gets captured by Terran and this spider creature, and she's caught up in a web in a doorway. So He-Man has to go try and save her, and he actually gets captured into a web as well. And finally, Volterra and Terran come face to face, and she finally discovers who he is. He-Man manages to break out from the web, and Lord Terran is like, you'll feel my full wrath, and he goes to get more magical energy from this huge system of veins that's actually, at this point, the castle has been derelict for so long, and the way the trees and everything has grown into it, there's this huge vein system in the centre of the castle that is essentially holding the castle up at this point. If it disappears, the whole castle's coming down. Terran doesn't know this, and Lady Volterra tries to stop him from doing it, but he goes for it anyway, absorbs the plant. The whole place starts to collapse on the top of them, and during this moment he starts to realise what he's done, what he's become. And He-Man is like, he's trying to save everybody at this point. He's got Tila out of the web. He says to the two of them, come on, let's get out of here. And Lord Terran is like, why should I leave my castle whenever my love, my lady, doesn't feel the same about me anymore? And Lady Volterra says, don't be so sure that she doesn't. And they all escape the castle, but they realise little Sago, the little demon, well, not demon, the little baby dragon creature, has actually been trapped below a piece of fallen rock. And Lord Terran runs back into the castle to try and save him, but he can't lift the rock, it's too heavy. And He-Man, being He-Man, runs back in, helps him save little Sago. They both escape, and Lord Terran is like, thank you, friend, let's get to safety. And He-Man's like, no, there's one more rescue that I want to do. And he runs even deeper into the castle to get the giant snake creature that he had captured earlier on in the episode. He's not going to let anybody die. It's the 80s, it's a cartoon, it's He-Man the Master of the Universe. They're going to try and save everyone if possible, so he saves this creature just as the place collapses, but they don't see him escape. And outside the castle, it's like Tila's pretty much lamenting the loss of He-Man. He was in there, and then they hear a little voice calling from the background, and that is Prince Adam himself. And she explains what's happened, and he's like, no, He-Man was very safe the last time I seen him. I was helping him save a giant snake creature after he saved me from a 200-foot tree. So Adam makes the excuse while he was on the flying horses, he fell onto this tree, and that's where he's been at throughout the entire episode. So at the end of it, Lady Volterra and Lord Terran realise what's happened and what they've become. And as I said, Terran is completely disfigured, and it turns out it's because every time he used his magical energy to try to rebuild their empire, it deformed him more and more each time. And even Lady Volterra, she has not demonic looks, but not the youthful, pretty looks that she's always hoping that she would have, especially after this 200-year sleep. So one of the first things she comments on. And Lord Terran decides they've got these like necklaces on them with a little emblem that's their heart of power, essentially, and he renounces the evil magic that they've been using up to this point, rips it off, throws it in the ground, smashes it. And she does exactly the same. It's like, if you renounce it, I renounce it. And the two of them are holding each other, arm in arm, face to face. And you start to see the transformation starting to roll back on them. The years start dropping off. The skin on him starts to come back to like a fleshy colour. His hair goes from starts to change from like the whitish grey back to the natural black that it is. And even her looks start to roll back. And at the end of the episode, once this happens, the two winged horses from the beginning make an appearance again, and straight away she is able to go over and touch the horse, and she comments, they would never would have let me do this before. And Lord Terran says, well, you're a completely different person now. So even the horses and the wildlife and everything now are starting to feel the good that's coming from these two instead of the evil magic that they were dependent on up to this point. And at the end of the episode, the both of them jump onto the horses and they go for a nice romantic flight together along with little Sago. Nice little happy ending. And as I said, Sago earlier in the episode, whenever she was using her magical energy to destroy the tree to get the power from it, you seen that little tear coming from its eyes. So at the end of the episode, it's got exactly what it wants. It's basically its adopted parents back to who they were at one point in time. And we're left with Prince Adam and Tila. And Adam's like, I'm never going to fly one of those horses ever again. And Tila comments, one of these days I'm going to turn you into a hero, just like He-Man. And Prince Adam closes out the episode by saying, one day maybe, one day, then gives the camera a wink, as in saying she doesn't know our secret. We're seeing the backlash to that now with Masters of the Universe Revelation, and this is the story that they're telling there. So if you're new to it and you're not understanding the whole Revelation storyline at the minute, like this jumping directly out of the original 83 version of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. So as always, at the end of the episode, one of the characters breaks the fourth wall, talks to the viewer, tells you the moral of the story. And I was expecting it to be something deep, like power corrupts and all that sort of thing. But that's probably an older lesson for like an older person. But of course this is aimed directly towards children. But the lesson here was, in today's story, that's little Argo telling you, in today's story we met two people that slept for 200 years. We don't need that amount of sleep, but sleep is very important, and you should get as much sleep as you can get, and as much exercise as you can get. Don't eat too much before you go to bed. A glass of milk and a piece of fruit is more than enough before you lie down to go to sleep. And yes, sleep rocks, essentially, is what he said. And it was really weird for me to watch this episode just on that, because on the vlogging channel, Here's Rodder's Vlogs, I literally made a video the other day called the most underrated thing in life. I think it was the title of it, and it was basically about sleep and how good it is for you, and you should really make it a part of your routine. So it was just weird for like a day after I made a video on that very subject, and naturally went into a new episode, like an episode I can't recall seeing up to this point, on the exact same subject. That's those little things there just make me have a little chuckle at life. But anyway, that's going to do it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Guys, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, don't forget to turn on that bell icon to be notified of future uploads. And please check out some of the other videos on this channel while you're here.